We got to mix the mission statement with the idea that everything is relevant. Our stand-up is relevant. Living in New York is relevant because it's all how to deal with day-to-day life.
Yeah.
Is that generally it? Yeah. And how the littlest things in the world ruin your whole outlook on life just because of one day when it's really not that big of a deal, but we've got to find a way to deal with our fucking anger, basically.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Power of How with Matt Fulcheron, Brennan Tassif, and Daniel Torado. We're just recovering from the sounds. We just had the headphones up.
It's so good. It's
good.
We had the headphones up so high.
It's booming. Matt's reverb went off in his headphones.
It hurt. And, you know, I went to
Jose Dick.
I went to a rock show. Oh, it was actually like a country. You know how like the alt country?
Oh, yeah.
Like cool country, like Brooklyn country?
Yeah.
Which I guess Brooklyn is country compared to Manhattan.
Right.
There's still a couple slaughterhouses here, I think. And I had earplugs in the whole time.
Does that make you feel weird?
The whole time. No, because I just got the little silicone ones.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I'd rather look stupid than be deaf. I'm at that point in my life. Like, there's a liberty to being 50. Mm-hmm. Like, all right, so I'm already the old dude at the club. Like, fuck it.
I think a lot of people do that, though.
I think you fucking better.
Yeah.
You know, because my point is, my ears are still ringing a little bit this week.
Yeah.
Even with the earphones, the earplugs in.
Diapers, no diapers?
I was not wearing diapers.
You know, some
I'm
people
not
do
that
that,
old.
right?
Yeah, if it's a band that's like, if you're going to see Metallica,
right?
Like, and you don't want to get up.
Wait, what? I thought you were making a joke.
So if you go to see your favorite bands, and I've only heard one person doing this, and he's a degenerate on the Howard Stern show. But if you go to see your favorite band at a crowded venue, like Madison Square Garden, and you just wear diapers and piss in your seat.
Yep. Well, they do that at Times Square when the ball drops. Because you can't
That
move.
makes sense.
I've heard of the Times Square one because you have to get there like 8 hours early.
Yeah, and you can't move, and you don't want to lose your spot if you have a good spot, so you pee yourself.
Yeah, I mean, who could stand to lose the spot when Ryan Seacrest comes out and counts down from 10?
Tourists.
You never. Can you imagine getting there at like 8 a.m.?
Could you imagine meeting someone in that crowd and bringing her back home and you forgot you're
wearing a diaper? Oh, my God.
I think anybody that's there is open-minded enough.
Right, probably.
To be like, I met somebody else at Dick Clark's New Year's Rockin' Eve. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, New Year's Rockin' Eve, man.
He's been dead for a while, and it's still...
Yeah, that's
that.
I've never been to anything where I was like, I can't leave.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've
Who
seen...
wants to be?
Well, I've seen like famous, like real big, like, you know, I saw Dave Chappelle at the Stand, and at one point I got up because I was like, I have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
I just got up and went. But I don't think I've ever been... But I'm not a big concert guy.
So if you're sitting in the middle of a row at the Barclays Center, and you're not just
going.
getting up and going to the bathroom is a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
And you also might not want to miss a song.
I mean, it makes sense. I've just never been a big concert guy.
I've never been that big of a concert guy. First of all, not really, but also like piss your pants concert guy. Just no.
No band.
No thank
band
you.
will ever.
No, there's always one song and you're like, okay, I can get. They call it the new songs.
Yeah.
You get up and piss during the new song.
This is from the new album. Then everyone gets up and goes to the concession stand and stuff. It's funny because I'll be around people sometimes and they're like, man, I really have to go to and I'm like, then go to the back. Like, what are we doing? Mm-hmm. And they're like, yeah, but I don't want to. It's either like, I don't want to miss this or I don't want to, like, especially at shows and stuff. They're like, yeah, but I don't want to miss it. It's like, it's okay.
Right.
But then when I'm on stage and someone gets up, I'm in my head, I'm like, this is the best part, man. You're about to miss the best part. Like, what are you doing?
Oh, no, I can't stand when people go to the... I can't stand when the feng shui is disturbed in the room. When I have a nice thing going and then someone new walks in the room and starts talking to people, I'm like, I just did a lot of work to get this shit up and running. Now you're walking in, you didn't hear the part where I won them over, and you're just taking 2 or 3 of my listeners, you're talking to them.
Yep.
You're looking for the waiter. You're fucking everything up.
Oh, God. That whole coming into a show late. Because I go to Frantic every Monday, because sometimes Joe will be a sweetheart and be like, hey, do you want to jump up? So I go every single Monday. Mm-hmm. And it's so weird when people come in at like 11. The show starts at 10. And people will come like, because it's a free show, so no one cares. There's no consequence to not coming. So people just show up at like 11, 11:15, just strolling in halfway through someone's set. Mm-hmm. They've missed the whole first half of the show. And I'm like, why are you even, what are you doing?
I'm starting to think people don't really value stand-up comedy as much as we think they do. No, it's funny. Like we're not thinking about it from their perspective.
Yeah,
they don't care like we care.
Yeah,
they just want to walk in and be like,
it's all right.
What's for dinner?
Yeah,
they don't give a shit. I mean, can you blame them?
No,
but you can when you're up there.
I mean, I'm the same at open mics. Like if I can't get, it's so funny because I'll go to open mics and there's some of them that draw random, like almost like a bucket list. But I feel like if I'm like, oh, it starts at 3. If I can't get there by 2:55, then I just can't go. And it's like, no, you can stroll in at like 3:30. Like nothing's gonna change.
Yeah.
Like they're not gonna not put you up if you show up late. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I'm weird about time. I'm anxious about time. Where it's like, no, I have to get there when I said like when it starts. And then how many times I remember once I went to see Ludacris in Florida. And I got there like 45 minutes early because I was like, boy, oh boy, I want to get a good seat.
Yeah.
I did not know that hip-hop bands have a tendency to start a little late. Well, just bands in general have a tendency to start a little later. The show was supposed to start at like 8 and then didn't start until 10:15.
Yeah, fuck that.
Wow.
2 hours and 15 minutes, I was just like standing in a crowd of people like, move, bitch, get out the way. But it's like,
and they're just playing the track. They play
that's what I'm saying. It's just playing behind it, and it's like,
hey y'all, Ludacris is gonna do karaoke. You gotta come out and see this shit.
But
with pre-recorded vocals on it.
I'm always every time I see a band live, I'm always like, I like the album version better. But I haven't seen like epic band. Like I've never seen like Metallica or Slayer or Rolling Stones. Like everyone I see is like Alkaline Trio, and it's like, yeah, it's good, but I actually like the album better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's a weird thing. It's to the diaper theory. If it's like your favorite band, you just want to see that person walk on stage. You want to, and you do. It does bother you a little bit when the song is different. But it's good. Bill Burr was talking about how, like, it's for you. They're keeping themselves interested in the song.
Yeah.
Instead of just...
What do you mean?
So, like, if a band does something to your favorite song, like, all of a sudden, it's the reggae version. And you're like, what the fuck? The reggae version? I don't want the reggae version. Yeah, right. I want the album version.
Right.
He's saying they're just keeping themselves interested.
Oh, yeah.
So that they can enjoy it, so that you can enjoy it. But it doesn't... It works more for the performer than for the audience.
Yeah. Bon Jovi doesn't want to sing Living on a Prayer.
Yeah, I was just thinking that song.
Every time they're not, it's like us. It's like, can you imagine if we had to perform our first jokes all the time?
God, that would be insane.
And get booed if we don't.
Yeah.
Like we wouldn't be doing what we're doing.
Steve Martin talked about that in his book, didn't he? Where he just he said he stopped touring.
And he quit.
Yeah, he stopped touring because he said he felt like a jukebox. People would just shout out like titles of his bits, and he's like, that's not how this, like I'm working on new stuff. Like,
he said he couldn't write on stage either because he's playing stadiums.
Yeah, and Dice Clay, same thing with limericks. You know, they just wanted to hear the limericks.
Yeah.
And
they still do.
But
they still do. I mean, as far back as like 2005, they still did.
But isn't it? It's kind of fascinating how it's the only parallel with songs because you know, it's not often that a comedian feels like a musician where they want to hear the old jokes. So like
no, because there's a surprise element to jokes,
right? Mm-hmm. But a lot of people like hearing old jokes because if they're there with a friend, there's the anticipation of
watch this part.
Yeah. And it's like when we watch it, like we watch Goodfellas a million times.
Yeah.
And yet it's exciting every time because
can't believe you said Goodfellas. I have a bit I'm putting up today about how I talk about Goodfellas being overrated.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But you still watched it a lot.
Oh yeah, I've seen it a million times. Yeah.
The point is, what if you watched it and then like every time you watched it, they like threw in a deleted scene and cut out your favorite scene?
Yeah, you'd be.
What the fuck is this movie?
Wait. I what is this part about?
First of all,
overrated.
You'll see the bit.
First of all, I want to do my Goodfellas joke first, which I never did that often. One day, the kids from the neighborhood carried my mother's punchlines all the way home. You know why? It was out of respect. I fucked up the joke, but I've been working on something like that, and I just never did it. So carried the jokes all the way home.
But you won't share the bit?
Well, it's not even a bit. I was just on stage talking. I have a whole bit about using movie lines in everyday life. And I like to do it from dumb movies that people haven't seen. And then in the bit, I talk about a dumb movie I've seen like a million times. And I go, I saw this movie before I ever saw Goodfellas. And then when I finally saw Goodfellas, I was like, oh, this wasn't. And the crowd like goes bananas because I'm talking shit about Goodfellas. And then I go into this little riff about how this other movie was better than Goodfellas.
Yeah.
So it's not even like a flush out bit. It was just something that happened in the audience.
Right.
But then I was like, oh, that's a clip because you gotta like get people engaged. So the title of the clip is Goodfellas is overrated.
Yeah, that's good.
And I sent it to a buddy of mine who's a comic but also does a lot of film stuff in LA. And he was like, dude, this is going to get you murdered.
Right.
Like, you can't put this online. And I was like, yeah, I think that means it's ready to go online now.
I think that's it. I think that's got everything you need.
Yeah. But it isn't. I wanted to bring this up to the song thing, the music thing, because I'm one of the only people I know who obsessively listens to like albums. And then when I go to see a comic, I like hearing the jokes again because it's like almost nostalgic. But there are times where comics will change their bit because they've been working on it since the album came out.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, that's not how the bit goes. Excuse me, sir, ma'am, that's not how the bit goes, actually.
Right, yeah. That's why it only works if you do like Brian Regan and do your new shit for an hour and then come out and take requests as an encore.
Is that what Brian does?
That's the only way to do it.
Yeah, I didn't know he did that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Because you think you want to hear the bit until you've heard all the bits.
Yeah.
And then you're like, fuck this.
I didn't know he did that. That's really cool. I think it's, I don't know. I feel it would be great to be that big of a comic that you get requests for your jokes.
You remember people like know the jokes. Like,
yeah, but I think they get a kick out of saying it, like singing a song.
That's what I'm saying. People know the joke where they'll say it with you.
Right.
There's some live Mitch Hedberg, comedy albums are live, where somebody like calls out like the name of a joke, and he's like, "That's the punchline, man." Like, I can't tell the joke now. You just told the punchline.
Right.
I've done that for some of our clips where I will, in the description or in the title, like if I try to change something, I'll be like, oh, that's the funny part. And I'll put it up in the middle. Text me, he goes, yeah, that's the punchline, dude. Like, take it out.
Right. Yeah, I've seen that a lot.
I'm like, oh, yeah.
That was a rare one where it really was the punchline. Yeah. Like, this is the whole point of the clip.
Yeah.
That was just like sometimes you can let it slide.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, that was the throwing the person out.
Right.
So tell us the story about the
Buddha.
priest.
Yeah. I guess it's kind of a was I dick, but I don't know. So I was walking through.
But also I'd like to keep this open to was he a dick?
So
I guess that's the theme of was I a dick.
Let's do that because in my estimation, we're going to Tarantino this. I think he was a little aggressive, but we'll get back to that. Yeah. So I was leaving work, my lunch restaurant near Times Square. So in order to get to Tracy's house in Astoria, I have to walk through Times Square. Now to the listeners,
hold on, every time.
That's what I'm saying. See, the listeners might be like, "Oh, who cares? You're walking through Times Square." Times Square is a war zone on a daily basis in New York.
It's like walking through Disneyland or like.
Yeah, and normally Thursdays is the day that we hang out because I just work lunches and I don't have any mics. So I'll go record, which is also right near that area, and then go straight to her house. So I'm always going through Times Square at least once a week. And it's a fucking mess. But this particular day, I ran out of cigarettes. So I stopped at one of the newsstands to get cigarettes. Overpriced, by the way, in Times Square, believe it or not.
I get my cigarettes from the M&M store. I recommend that. Low prices.
Well, the place across the street from me gets them from Georgia, so they're super cheap. Nice. So I go to buy them in Times Square, and then a Buddhist, I think it was a Buddhist monk. We see them all the time in New York. They wear the robes. They have the beads. He walks by, and then he goes to hand me a bracelet. And I said, no, thank you. And he goes, no. And then Buddhist monk, I'm 6'1", 230 pounds, small little Buddhist monk, grabs my arm. not like this, like grabs my arm. And he goes, no. Pulls my hand up and then puts the bracelet on me. And I was like, no, thank you. no, thank you. And then pulls out his little book and he goes, oh, write your name,
right,
the country you're from, and what you want me to pray for you for, what you want me to meditate for you for. So I'm like, okay. So I write my name, I write the country, and then he pulls out a necklace from his bag and goes to put it around my neck. And I was like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
And after all this happens, still holding my arm, he goes, donations. And I go, listen, man, I said no, thank you, because I don't have any money. And he goes, donations. Now all of a sudden he doesn't speak English.
Right.
He just keeps going, donations, donations. And I remembered that I was wearing these jeans and I had like 3 or 4 ones in my back left pocket because I never pull my wallet out, especially in Times Square.
Hell yeah.
So I reach in my back left pocket and I go, I think I might have something. And I pull out 1. And he goes, no, you have mucho dinero, and just grabbed the money out of my hand and put it in his bag.
I don't think that was a monk.
And then walked away. Yeah. And I was like, what just...
You got robbed.
Yeah. And I know, because Daniel is our, forefather of Western Buddhism and Taoism and stuff.
Forget was I a dick. This is a new segment. Was I robbed? I think you got robbed.
Yeah, and then it was interesting because I started walking the wrong way to the side because I was just like so flat. I was just like, I got to start walking.
It's disoriented.
Flabbergasted. What is this, the 1920s? I was so flabbergasted. And then I went to turn around, and he's leaning up against the wall of the Hard Rock smoking a cigarette. Same guy.
Not a monk.
Full robe, shaved head, full robes.
Yeah, but that's like saying,
so wait, you're telling me
that was really Mickey Mouse.
I was gonna say,
you know what I mean?
We tripped over each other getting to it.
No, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was no monk.
Yeah,
that was definitely that was a guy wearing, the gear, but.
I don't know. Did anything good happen to you this week? Maybe he prayed for you.
We'll see.
Yeah,
we got a long weekend coming up, so we'll see.
Yeah, so you're saying that's just...
no, that's a guy in Times Square trying to make money.
Yeah.
And he's using, the look to manipulate people. But there's nothing, donate...
It's nothing new, It's like...
yeah, like donations
They do it through Christianity all the time.
No, but donations are always suggested. They're not forced.
Yeah.
Sorry,
guys. I just had a weird feeling I didn't hit record.
That's all right.
Yeah, so that's the thing is because he kept saying donations, I was like, oh, I'll give him like $1 or $2.
Well, he said as soon as you got me at mucho donations and mucho dinero.
Yeah,
like,
when I pulled out,
that's not a Tibetan monk who speaks Spanish. That should have been the red flag.
What do you mean they don't speak Spanish?
In Tibet? No, the Tibet.
Oh, Tibet.
Right.
Gotcha.
Because
that actually wasn't even the
Tibetan.
Yeah, that's the look he was pulling up. That wasn't even that didn't even come up in my head as a flag. Was him saying mucho dinero? I didn't even think about that.
Probably
but yeah, you're
some
right.
Latino wearing
robes.
Right.
Yeah.
Of course.
God, he got me. I got robbed.
Yeah, but he got you. But he did. But I mean, it's not like you really handed over that much money. He just kind of
$4.
fucking robbed.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where you're like, "Am I going to fight this guy for $4?"
So that was my logic was because he wasn't a big guy, and I was like, I mean, I'm not. I've gotten my ass kicked plenty by smaller people, smaller dudes,
but probably not.
But I was like, dude, what is happening? But I'm not an instigator. I'm not a mean guy. I don't like confrontation. So I was just like, okay.
How great would it be if he did kick your ass, and now people are watching a Buddhist monk kick somebody's ass?
That would go viral for sure. And then my career would take off.
I got robbed once. When I was younger, I used to work in a pet shop.
Was this in Montreal?
Yeah. And there's this guy who walked in, and he said he wanted to return something. And he wanted to return a bag of organic food. And then I said, "Do you have the receipt?" He's like, "No, I don't have the receipt, but I wanted to buy one of those litter boxes, like a huge cat litter box." And it was like this crazy expensive litter box that was worth $400. It was insane. And he said, "I spoke with your manager or your boss, the owner of the store, and he said he was going to give me a good price. So I just want to return this food and pay the difference. I'll pay the difference." Mm-hmm. And I'm like, "Okay, but you have no receipt." He's like, "Just call your boss. He knows me." It's like, now? Just give him a call. So I call my boss. He's like, "Yo, this dude wants to buy a $400 litter box." He's like, "What? We never sold one of those."
Yeah.
He said, "Okay, hook it up." And I said, "Okay, but he wants to return cat food." And he says, "Okay, just give him his money back and then he'll pay the difference." I'm like, "Perfect. Okay." So he says, "Listen, pay me back for this. I forgot my credit card in the car. It's right behind you." And then I said, okay, so I give him like $80 back for the food. He goes to the car, which is not his car. He just vanishes.
Right.
He had a conversation in front of me with my boss. My boss is telling me, I don't remember, but yeah, just give him back his money and pay the difference. Let's get rid of that litter box. And I said, great. And I got excited. He got excited. And he left. I literally gave him $80 cash. And I'm waiting.
Food
And,
is not cheap.
and his hustle was incredible. It was so good.
That's his job.
That when he left.
He makes $80 an hour.
And after I came, like, I waited a minute, 2, then 5. And I'm like, wow, this guy's not coming back.
Yeah.
And it was so flawless the way he approached me. And you know what he did? He came into the store, and I didn't even notice. He grabbed the food that was on the stand. And he said, I'm returning it.
Right.
I just didn't see him grab it.
Right.
So he never even bought it to begin with.
Yeah.
God.
So, and I told myself if I ever see him again, I would shake his hand.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I had to pay for it because he took money. Like my boss, you know,
Your boss robbed you too.
Yeah, he thought I was responsible.
Yeah, fuck that.
But I still said it was so flawless that I kind of respected his game. And the next door, there's like this homeopathic store, and he did the exact same thing to her. And he robbed her like $120. And he would go from store to store and come back every 3-4 months. And I never saw him again. But there's something to say about the talent,
The ingenuity.
yeah, the commitment, the storytelling, the motivation, mainly the acting. It was superb, and some people just are really good at that, and
aren't afraid to get caught, aren't afraid to of it blowing up in their face.
No,
because I'm sure there's tons of outs. We're like, I guess it was just a misunderstanding then.
Yeah,
right.
Or some bullshit.
I
like
see it
that
all the time in the restaurant industry. People try to walk out on their check, and if they get caught, they go, "Oh no, I was just going outside to make a phone call."
Right.
And it's like, where are you? Where are you?
Well, I was gonna make a phone call, but I was also gonna skip
Just
out on
leave,
the check.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I've seen it a million times, and it's interesting because there's nothing like if you would have said, "Hey, man, I watched you pick that up from over there." He would have been like, whatever, and just like dropped it and you can't, because he technically hasn't committed a crime yet, so you can't call the police. Like I had this happen at the restaurant. There were these younger kids, and they ordered a drink. One of them ordered a Shirley Temple, big red flag. So then the other one ordered a cocktail. And I said, okay, I just had to see.
Can we slow down for a second? Why is that a red flag, Shirley Temple?
Because then they're all of the same age. It's not like kids with their parents. So it's a red flag when, like, if the three of us went to a restaurant and you ordered a Shirley Temple, but then I ordered a glass of wine, they'd be like, well, now I need to see your ID.
Right.
Because
Gotcha.
a go-to Shirley Temple is an order for someone who doesn't drink drinks. And they got to be in their, I know they're all in their early 20s. So then the other kid orders a drink, and they're high as shit, like giggling the whole time. And I work in a nicer restaurant, but they're like totally high. And it was so annoying. And I see them under the table fumbling for one guy to pass the other guy the ID.
Oh, my God.
So it's like, did you not think I was going to card you? And I see them do this, but they're so high that they're oblivious. And then he shows me the ID. And I say all that to say, like, I went to my manager and I was like, hey, they were kind of like fumbling under the table. It looked like he was passing him an ID. And my manager was like, did the ID say 21? And I said, yeah. She goes, was he the picture in it? And I go, yeah, I guess it looked kind of like him. And she goes, we're not the police. Like, there's nothing else we can do.
Right.
Like, if you don't serve him, this is going to be a way bigger headache than if you just serve him.
Right.
So I was like, oh, okay. So to your, like, what happened with you? It's like, yeah, but there's nothing people break the law and it's just like, okay, cool, you got me.
If you have the courage to go through with it, you can usually pull it off.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, I'm not the police, man. If you're going to show me an ID that has a 21-year-old date and it kind of looks like you, all right, cool.
It's most people don't have the nerve. It's like these politicians who tell lies that are like obvious lies.
Yeah.
Most people will be embarrassed to be fact checked so easily. But they're like, fuck it, I'm just doing it. I'm playing to like the people that believe me. And I'm just doing this. I'm doing this. Like, I'm doing this. You know I'm full of shit. I know I'm full of shit. But I'm never going to say I'm full of shit.
Right. But the only people to blame are the people. because politicians to get elected will do anything or say anything to get elected.
Yep.
And, it's like if I wanted to be president, I'd be like, all right, I don't know, free pizza on Fridays. And people would be like, whoa.
That's a promise. And that's different than I got you on tape throwing a rock at a monkey. And you go, I didn't throw the rock at the monkey.
Yeah.
It's fucking fake news.
Right.
Like, that's what I'm talking about.
Well, I heard Dr. Drew talk about it once about OJ, where OJ has told that lie so many times that deep down in his soul, he probably believes it's true now, that he didn't do anything.
Right.
Because you just keep saying, and I'm sure it's the same for politicians, where you just, I'm going to bash my way through this with a lie fest, and you say it so often, so many times, that you start to believe that it's actually true.
Yeah.
Which... I mean, I do that with football.
What, your old stories? Like how good you were?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's all true on paper.
The Al Bundy effect?
Yeah. But it was like I was technically all county. I was all county honorable mention, but I leave that part out. I say I was all county.
Right.
Which is true. But now I've said it so often that in my head I was like, maybe I was better than I remember.
I also brag about a first place trophy I got skating half pipes. There was only 3 people in the competition. But I got the trophy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's funny. That's funny.
It's only 3 people.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think the people are to blame, because that's a stupid thing about elections is that you just vote for the lie that you prefer.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Nobody sticks to, I don't know. There's no more integrity.
There's not, and I see it. I have a friend of mine, very liberal person, love her to death, but she's going to get a new job, and it's it's at a nice restaurant across the street from the Fox News building.
Yeah.
And she was telling me about a conversation with a friend of hers where they were like, how can you go to a restaurant where you're going to serve all these people you vehemently oppose? She's like, well, their money's green just like everyone else's. And my first thought was, yeah, but where's that? You stand, we get into debates all the time about certain things because I'm a libertarian and believe in laissez-faire government. And her and I get into yelling matches where she calls me an idiot and storms off from me. And now you're going to turn around and be like, well, they spend a lot of money. Yeah, that's the whole idea behind the Republican.
Yeah, I think that specific thing's a little bit different in that you can't get a job anywhere you want.
But you have a great job and you're leaving that great job to get a better job working for those people.
Sure.
Yeah, but at the same time, you could say yeah, but we can't be performing for people that are not aligned.
We've all done that.
What I'm saying is, there are a lot of comments who are vehemently opposed to Trump, and if Trump called them and said, "Do you want to play Mar-a-Lago?" What I mean is those people who would say, "No, I do not."
Right. Isn't this
That's what I'm saying,
slightly different though because it's not in the Fox building?
No, it's not. But I mean,
right. No, you just want to burn this girl.
I want to give it.
You want to get her, and she feels a little guilty about it.
She has,
but she's got to make money.
Yeah, but she's. That's the thing that kind of bothered me. It's we're making great money. We're about to be in season and make great money, and compromising your morals to put a smile on for these people that you hate is worth an extra couple $100 a week.
Yeah.
To me, I'm just that's.
I'm with you, but it's also you put a smile on for people you hate all the time.
Yeah, that's true. Especially in comedy. There's people who come into these shows and we look around the room and we go, not you guys.
Yeah.
But also when you're waiting tables too, right? Aren't there people who you're like, oh, these motherfuckers.
Yeah.
And then you show up and they say a bunch of shit. You're like, I was right about these people.
Yeah. Yeah,
but you're going to smile right through it, you know?
You're right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean.
That's what money does is I have to get rid of all my preconceived notions about people because they're paying me.
Yeah.
Once someone's paying you, it's a different story.
The worst part is because people tip at the end of meals. The worst part is when someone's that person that you don't like and you hate and you're like, why am I even doing this? And then they leave you 10%. And you're like, you motherfucker!
The scorpion and the frog, baby. I knew you were going to burn me.
I knew it.
At least they paid. At least they weren't making a phone call.
Yeah, you can't. I don't think you can get political about that.
You can't, and you also
personally.
Oh, I can get political about anything.
Right. But you know what I mean.
No, yeah, absolutely.
It sucks because we're all really into our political beliefs, but we have to say no to these prejudices if we're gonna move on.
Yeah, if we're just gonna, especially
we have to let go of it, and that's hard to let go of.
But it's not even letting go of it, but I think it's even accepting it.
Yeah. Because
we're not all going to think the same way. We're never going to all think the same way. And, you know, that's what sucks about the quote-unquote liberal movement today. There's nothing liberal about it. If you don't agree with our movement and the way we think, then you're not liberal anymore. And there's nothing liberal about that. There's nothing free about that.
True.
And it's whack. It's gone, like the liberal movement has gone so far left that it's not even free anymore. And it's the whole point of it is to have a dialogue. The whole point of it is to accept our differences and be cool with it and move on. And that's what is supposed to be the United States. Right. But if we keep focusing on what we don't like about one another and how we disagree on various points or topics, then it's never going to work out.
I think it's a really funny thing that happened because like people were kind of getting called names in a way by the libs, like you're a racist, you're a sexist,
you're homophobic, you're transphobic.
But the weird part is when people go, I'll show you racist. I'll show you sexist. That's the reaction I don't get either.
Right.
And it happened rather quickly. Like I do think that's weird. Yeah. I don't know. We're fucking. See that Confederate flag? I didn't have that 2 years ago. I'm fucking racist now. That is a weird reaction, I think.
Well, because people get defensive when you come after them, and then they want to lean harder into it. Yeah,
that's what it is.
I mean, I do it all the time when I'm not obviously with the racist stuff. But I walked myself into that. But like, I do it all the time when people are, whether it's comedy, whether it's podcasting, whether it's gym stuff. When people are like, "Oh, you don't like you're an alpha gym bro guy," and I'm not. But then like they'll start saying it like it's a negative thing, like bragging on me that I get, and I'll be like, you want to fucking see Alpha Jim, bro? I'll show you Alpha Jim. Like, if you want to see it, I'll show it to you.
Right.
So it's just, I completely understand that mindset to be like, well, if everyone's going to say this about me anyway, then fuck it.
Right.
Like, we'll just lean into it.
Yeah, no, it's, I get it and I don't get it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I have felt improperly accused. Mm-hmm. It happens to older people. You just go, you have no idea. They don't know who you are. Especially, it's weird getting older because people have like a preconceived notion of you. Like, and this is just a soft observation. I did a show at Old Man Hustle, and the host, like, I could tell, like, when I introduced myself to him, that he's looking me up and down like this fucking guy. Like, he's like a square guy. Mm-hmm. He's like an older guy or whatever. And I went up, and I was just in the zone on this show, and I was just like fucking right. He even called me old in my intro.
Really?
Yeah. Like, I cleared I was walking up.
And you got to tell us off mic who this was.
He goes, well, the story has a happy ending. He's like, and coming to stage, he's been on Comedy Central. And like, so that's me. I'm walking.
What's the name of the show?
The name of the show is Louis Katz and Friends because I'm one of Louis Katz's friends.
No, but
so I'm on this. It's Old Man Hustle.
It's in Brooklyn.
Maybe that was just the pun.
No. So I'm walking up and I go like that, like clearing my throat, like getting ready. You know, he's like, he's clearing his throat like an old guy, like an old guy. Like he just brought up like old guy, and I was like, I turn around to Louis. He was sitting at the back table. I just go, what the fuck is this? Like, what? Like, who is this MC? Because it's all Louis Katz's friends. Yeah. So he's one of Louis Katz's friends. And I'm like, what is this? This is no intro.
Yeah.
And I'm going up first. The room isn't there yet. You know what I mean? And I'm already buried because it's a small room and they're just turning their head to the side to look at me. And that is my least favorite. This is Comedy Store behavior where they bring you into it, but you don't have the mic yet.
Yeah.
I fucking hate that. And I went up there and I just fucking destroyed in front of 12 people. I was in the zone. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I'm doing new stuff. I'm doing old stuff. I'm ripping. And it was just so awesome that like afterwards the MC was just like, dude, that was amazing. He goes, I looked at you and you go, he said to himself, I know this guy. I don't know if I've seen this guy before, but I've seen this guy version, this stereotype. And he said that it was like completely different than what he expected. And I forget my point, other than
we were talking about leaning into it. Yeah.
People assume a lot about you.
Yeah, I mean, I told you guys. I think I talked about it on the show when I did a roast in New York. I said I don't do roast. I didn't want to do the roast.
Right.
And it was this ultra-liberal group of people who were the judges. And as soon as I walked on the stage, they booed me.
The judges booed you?
Judges
When
booed
you
me.
walked
when I
on?
walked on stage.
Judges booed you. I think this might be a little biased.
But it goes to your point where it's so far the other way that it's not even... And I know we don't like to get too political, but I was just kind of like... And I should have leaned into it. I should have done that. But that is not who I am.
Sure, I don't think you should have leaned into it.
So I immediately started backpedaling, and I was just like, I'm friends with the... Like, not close, but I'm friendly with the person I'm roasting. Like, I've seen her at Mike's. Like, we talk. And, like, as soon as I walked out, they were like, boo. Cis white male from the South, boo. Straight to boo.
They threw into South. Like, they're just like, we know this guy's from the South.
Well, no, because when they brought me up, they were like, this guy just moved here from Florida. And it was a tragedy in every sense of the word, because I was like, none of you know me.
Yeah.
You just looked at me and then automatically, and then obviously, I think I told the story before on here, but there was the only show where I was on stage and I was like, do not cry. If you cry, they, like, genuinely, I was like, because they're like, you should kill yourself. You should move back to Florida. Nobody knows you. One of the judges was like, I don't know you and I'm never going to know you because you're a terrible comic.
Oh my God.
And I know it's a roast, but that one felt personal.
Dude, it is personal. And that
like, don't
that
cry.
is like kind of specific to comedy. I'm sure there's more jobs or whatever you want to call it. But there's a crazy thing that happens when nerds get power. They are coming after other people as like a revenge.
Sometimes
it's crazy.
People don't realize this is the real world. Mm-hmm. I was at a mic the other day, and a very good buddy of mine was like, I was off to the side talking to the host about something else. You and I were talking about this, and I was off to the side talking to the host about something completely different, about a show that was coming up. And the host, or the guy who was on stage, my buddy Eric, just took a jab at me. He was like, is Brennan really off to the side talking to him about this show? Because it's like a dumb show. And everyone in the room laughed. And I poked my head out and I said, Eric, this is real life. I will punch you in the face. Like, as a joke. But like, I was like, don't. Right. Some of these nerdy kids, it's like, yeah, I get it. Like, it's comedy and we're all safe and it's fun. Right. But it's like, I've been arrested 8 times. Like, don't come for me. Yeah. Like, that's the wrong account. Right. You don't want that account. Yeah. And it was just a moment where I was like, we're still in the real world. There's no one here to save you. Yeah, no, that is something that happens to comics who are not just starting out, but like just starting to like get in the flow of things. Mm-hmm. And they hang out with comics a lot. And they feel like they can kind of say whatever they want. Yeah. I've been there. I think we've all been there. Mm-hmm. And sooner or later, it blows up in your face and you go, I'm not going to get away with this just because we're all comedians. Yeah. You know, we're talking to a sensitive group of people here. We're talking to a people who can dish it but not take it. I'm the most sensitive. I'm a fucking baby. I'm the biggest baby. And then when I go to like, I get it both ways, because when I go to like a red state, they're just, you know, it's just like, especially if I'm in like the Joe Rogan fitted cap world. Yeah. It's just like they think I'm a total lib, total cuck. You know what I mean? So I get to experience it both ways. And they're reading into things too. I haven't said much. Yeah. They just kind of know me from online and podcasts and stuff. And they kind of know. Mm-hmm. But he's not like us. Yeah, right. Where's your ice bath, Matt? Right. Fuck off. I don't know. I don't know.
Ice baths are kind of cool, man.
No, I love an ice bath.
I think I almost died taking an ice bath.
I love an ice bath. Don't get me wrong. It's this idea where I've been doing ice baths since college, because they used to make the running backs do it after practice. And now Rogan says it and it's gospel. And I'm just like, people have been doing this for a long time. Like, what? Like, but now there's like this new craze, and it's like, all right, guys. Yeah, you guys are right. You were right. You figured it out.
Rogan wipes his ass with his left hand. We got to start doing that. Yeah. That way the right side of your brain is occupied.
Nope. I thought Daniel was going to come to his defense. I was like, actually, what if Daniel's the biggest Rogan fan in the world?
If you are going to start taking ice baths, you should start wiping with your left hand.
I think we learned a lot from Rogan. I think that.
No, I mean, I understand it's just interesting, the different parts of the country that you move through. Because like there are certain, even in New York itself is
New York itself
is crazy. I can do
just the tri-state area, and I think that includes Long Island.
Yeah, that's where I was going.
Is just like it's worlds and pockets and worlds and pockets.
Yeah, because I can go to Long Island and do bits and be a hero, and these same bits that if I do them in Brooklyn, it's like boo.
Right.
And it's like we're like, this is literally an hour drive away from each other. Mm-hmm. But it's just and I find that fascinating because growing up in the South, the swaths of communities is so much bigger. Like if you grow up, it's not like town to town to town like it is in the Northeast. Like Jacksonville is a kind of a certain way. It's more Democrats than anything else compared to the rest of Florida. And then there's like certain parts outside of but Jacksonville's the biggest landmass city in the country. So it's like everyone kind of thinks that way. And I just say all that to say like, then you move to New York and literally you can go 3 stops on a train and it's a completely different environment.
And that's what's interesting about New York too, is there's so many extreme viewpoints.
Yeah.
But then, like we talked about earlier, once money gets involved, everybody gets rid of their differences. Yeah. Let's band together. Let's make some money.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's really interesting too.
It's the great equalizer. And I find it fascinating because not to say, I mean, I work at a swanky steakhouse. Like I do, we talked about it, wait on people who I probably disagree with on a lot of values and points and stuff. But like there's other things too where I just don't care. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I have 3 podcasts, all of which I basically pay to do.
Yeah.
But it's like I don't care. Like I would rather do this stuff because it means something to me than ever worry about money. And I don't know if that's a normal thing or if that's a weird thing.
Yeah.
But then I talk to people like, and I've said this before, where people at work will be like, you know, if you just quit doing comedy and work 6 days a week, you could make like $200,000 a year. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't fucking care.
Sure,
like I don't want to.
Yeah. I don't think you would have that particular job.
Yeah.
Even though you like it.
Yeah.
I think you would maybe think about something.
But I always just think it's weird how money drives. But then again,
it drives most people.
When you drive to what?
How it just drives a lot of people.
It still even drives us.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you remember, me and Daniel just did an old folks home.
Yeah.
Like, that was not for the love of the game.
But you're doing it with the thing that you love. Like if someone called me and said, "Hey, we'll give you $1 million." Well, let's be realistic. If someone called me and said, "Hey, we'll give you $50,000, but X Drinking Buddy isn't yours anymore,"
yeah,
I don't know if I would do that.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I would give up this thing I've worked so hard for.
I mean, I think we should sell the Power of How for about $2-3 mil.
Yeah.
I think I'd be okay with that.
Would you be okay with that, Daniel?
Let's talk about it now. I mean, let's get this out of the way now.
You know, listen, I don't think, I don't mind playing Old Folks Home. I could play an Old Folks Home every week.
Uh-huh.
What bothered me was driving 12 hours to play an Old Folks Home.
Yeah.
I think if we stay open, and I'm not always open, but if I try to stay open, I'll see that I get something from every different crowd or different room.
Yeah.
You know, like now I started getting back into like the Black Latino rooms. I started playing those again.
Uh-huh.
I stopped playing them for like years, but I'm kind of getting back into that circuit. And it's such a different circuit.
Yeah.
It's like a different world. Like the biggest names. I started in
South Florida. You don't got to tell me.
The biggest names in New York are like the mainstream comics have no idea who they are.
Right.
And they are like legends.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And it just shows how segregated the game is. And
even the internet's segregated in a way. Like, because that's what that means. Our business exists on the internet now, and you still don't know about people in another comedy scene.
Yeah.
Right? It's wild.
There's NBA Twitter, NFL Twitter.
Yeah.
All this, like, it's a separation.
Yeah, and playing all the rooms from alt rooms. I find alt rooms more terrifying than any room.
They're very
100%.
judgmental.
Yeah.
It's 100%.
But I feel if you play every type of room from old folks' homes to alt rooms to Black Latino rooms, mainstream rooms, coffee shops and poetry rooms, it just makes you a better comic if you really take the time to see what did I learn from this, or how did I become a better comic? But if we go in there just judging it and like, oh, it's going to suck, it will suck, and you're not going to get anything out of it. I think we've become so good, or they've trained us to become so good, from, I believe, the government to the media to just separating us. It's left, right, it's blue, it's red. And most people really, in reality, are just centrists.
Yeah.
Like, they believe in
most people are,
Yeah, and that's like probably 80%. But we are under this illusion that, California, New York, they're just bubbles.
Yeah.
They're just a big bubble, but it's still a bubble.
Yeah.
And it's become the voice. And it's not the reality. It's what we're fed, and it's what people end up believing. And because they believe that, it just triggers so much hate. And it's too bad, because like there's no more dialogue. There's no more listening and answering, and how, like, this whole COVID thing, was there ever a dialogue of, hey, what could have been done better?
No.
How could we have reassessed? How could we, if this happens again, how could we play this differently? How can we understand each other better? No, it's like everyone's acting like nothing ever happened. And like, let's just move on. Like it didn't happen. No, people are still suffering from PTSD. People are still have, committed suicide, more domestic violence. People are still lost from it, and we're just playing this big charade that let's just move on, and the denial and the hiding it under the rug is not helping us.
Yeah,
and we have to try and understand the other side on both sides. And if we just focus on the hate, then there's no progress. It's just going to be fucking downhill.
Yeah, it's true. That's 2:00.
Let's do this.
And that's a nice message to go out on.
Love each other.
Yeah. And we're out. You want a tail clap?
Yeah.
3, 2.
Sorry, there's 2. Thanks for listening to The Power of How. Music by Daniel Tirado. Artwork by Nelson Diaz. Follow us on all the social medias at The Power of How Podcast. Rate, review, and subscribe, and check us out at patreon.com/The Power of How Podcast. Send us some positive vibes in the form of U.S. currency. See you next week, everybody.